Welcome back to On This Date. On This Date is a channel where I will discuss past and present murders, disappearances, or anything true crime related. And today I want to discuss the case of the Idaho Four and kind of go over Bryan Kohberger's defense strategies and things they just keep throwing at the wall to stick, and go over kind of where the trial seems to be heading as it's approaching on August 11th. Go over the asinine claims from the defense, and again, trying anything and everything to try to prove he's not guilty. Um, Before I guess I really get into anything, maybe I should say now that these are all my opinions. Bryan is presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, alleged and my opinion will be used a lot. In my opinion, he's guilty, and the facts are what they are. And there's enough evidence to say he committed these crimes. However, we know how it goes, and there's always some defense attorney like Ann Taylor that will defend these disgusting human beings. I don't know how you sit in the same room with this piece of shit, if we're being honest. He's a monster. 4 people's lives taken. And we still don't have the motive, besides all what we can put together is that Bryan is seriously not okay. Not because of this new mental diagnosis that the defense is trying to go with, stating that he's autistic, which we'll get into that, but this guy is seriously mental. Um, I don't know how she sits with them. I don't. Does she believe he's really innocent? Like, that's the craziest part. So, anyway, newly released evidences came out. And so we're going to go over these motions. And I've also released the Idaho 911 call. Absolutely heartbreaking. And that was another piece that they have released to us now. And seeing how the judge now, in this case, Judge Hippler, is handling things, I feel like a lot more is going to come out to the public because, as we'll go through, Judge Hippler now has stated, the public needs to know what's going on, because the defense wants everything to just keep being blocked and being sealed. And they have went around and around and around about this. I mean, the defense filing numerous motions, and the judge has had enough of this, and he let the defense know this, that we're going to stop these games. We're not going to have all these orders in place, that the public have a right to know what is going on. So I'm going to refer back to these notes. That way I can stay a little bit more accurate. I have some notes on my laptop in front of me. So if you see me look away, it's because of that. That way we can kind of stay more accurate. Usually when I come on here and I want to give you an overview of a story, a case, or something that I want to share so you can then share, I try to talk to you as just me and you having a conversation. And I kind of cut through the legal documents and all that stuff, so I can now deliver you a story which you can better understand without kind of having to do all the reading and the research. So my goal with these stories is to raise awareness, to get justice, to let the families know that we are here supporting, sharing, and want to see justice for the 4 victims in this case. So I just want to say all that, and let's go ahead and talk about the motions that have been filed for Bryan on his behalf of the defense. So Bryan's DNA from the beginning has been what has got him in trouble. His or caught up or into the circumstances, right? His DNA was found on the knife sheath. And never once has his defense team argued that this is not his DNA. Now they argue that, it's first the argument was that it's illegally obtained because they were upset at the time the FBI acquired this DNA by going into Bryan Kohberger's trash can. And so they were trying to say that his Fourth Amendment rights were broke and violated because they didn't secure a search warrant. However, the FBI went around this and ended up just asking the dumpster people, can we have this trash? And they handed it to them, so they did it. They didn't secure a search warrant for the IgG search, which is investigative genetic genealogy. So the defense was mad about that. But again, there's 4 murders. And yes, if there's a way to access the DNA and convict someone over this and get justice and have answers for the family, I don't know. I'm all about your rights. However, I don't know. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if this was my child, I really don't care about your rights. If you brutally murdered my child and there's DNA proof and they obtained it however they obtained it. To me, if you're also going to submit your DNA into a database, you should also kind of be aware that your DNA may be shared with law enforcement. Maybe the agreement set forward on the website. Did you read all the fine print? I'm just saying, if you're willing to put your DNA into a public system and you really don't know where it's going, yes, they signed something probably, and there's probably a disclosure, right? However, you're still giving your DNA. So what they choose to do with it, what ones if the system gets hacked, there's numerous different things that could happen. So if you are going to submit your DNA, then I feel like you're kind of asking for it. And I know I'm sure people are going to disagree with that. But if you want something to stay safe and private, you don't give it to a database that you don't even know. You're just sending off your DNA sample. Um, just saying. So, anyway, after they didn't get their win over that whole argument that the DNA was obtained illegally, then they started saying that this is like transferred DNA, or this was like the knife sheath was bought and somewhere Bryan touched it and now it's transferred to here, or he walked by and the DNA got on it. I don't really know. I seen where they're actually DNA analysis come out, and it's stating the amount of DNA that was on this actual knife sheath itself would to have been actual touch, meaning Bryan himself would have actually had to touch this knife sheath to transfer this much DNA. This isn't like a piece of skin floating in the air and brushes up against the knife sheath and now it's transferred to here. I mean, whatever. Yeah, that argument would have tried to work if the defense was trying to confuse everybody. But again, you can't confuse science, and that's why there's science, not just Ann Taylor's thoughts and opinions on how the DNA could get there and pulling all these long shots out, and I guess creating enough reasonable doubt, right, for the jury. But I feel like that was all my opinion. But I feel like um, most reasonable, common sense people would see past that and are going to trust the word of a DNA professional over a defense attorney who wants their client to be found not guilty and has everything to lose. So, yeah, I don't know. To me, that was such a long shot, but I guess crazier things have happened, right? We see the OJ Simpson trial, we see all kinds of things. Anything can go any kind of way at this point. I mean, look at Casey Anthony, for example. That disgusting monster got away with killing her baby girl and just out here doing whatever. So now they're going with Bryan's DNA was planted there. That just because his DNA was there doesn't mean that he was there. I'm sorry, what? And I guess this goes back to where they're trying to say that this DNA, I guess, got there somehow. So that doesn't mean he was the murderer. It just means that his DNA was there. I'm sorry, don't we convict people every day over their DNA being at a crime scene? Why? Because it wasn't on one of the victim's legs, like their actual body, and because it was on an object that could have been brought into the house. I just can't like make that make sense to me. If there's DNA somewhere, um, that would pretty much mean you're there. And I mean, yes, there's probably craziest things like a piece of hair or a dog hair or different items of DNA that can get transferred. Like, I don't know, I guess I could use an example, right? Say me and my husband um, are together early in the morning. My hair gets on his coat, right? He decides he's going to go rob the bank. I'm not saying he would, but I'm saying imagine that's the scenario. And so when my husband walks into the bank, yes, that hair could technically fall off the jacket onto the floor. And then when FBI and forensics come in, then yes, my DNA could be there. Okay. But it's not just the DNA that has even Bryan there. And also, my single hair being left at the bank doesn't mean that's my DNA, right? Like that I committed these crimes. But if my DNA was on maybe the money or the note I may or my husband may pass to the teller, then yes. So I don't know. I don't really know where I was going with all that. It's just that to me, your DNA wasn't just found in the house. It was found on the knife sheath that murdered 4 people. Yeah, coincidence? No. And again, not just the only problem with this, right? Like if there was no other evidence at all against Bryan Kohberger and everything was cleared and then they just had this one single little piece of DNA evidence, then yeah, we could say, well, how could that be? And there's maybe an explanation for it. And then I could see reasonable doubt coming in. However, when you factor in that another um, newly released kind of picture and grid, and I'll put it up here, um, of actually surveillance camera catching Bryan Kohberger's car. And there is multiple. And as you look at the picture, you will see all those colored labels. And where the red one is at is where it's believed to be closest to the King Road house residence. So he is caught on surveillance camera that night around in multiple locations, not to mention the cell phone pings, not to mention the, let's go ahead with this update, the K-bar knife sheath purchase from Amazon that the defense was trying to get thrown out. Yeah. Well, turns out that we didn't know this, but Bryan did order a knife sheath and knife, also a knife cutter sharpener like thing, so that he could sharpen his knife on Amazon. And then I seen that there was other purchases made at Dick's Sporting Goods, but to me, the Amazon purchase is insane. So your DNA ended up on a knife sheath which belongs to a K-bar knife, which you ordered on Amazon. Again, another piece of just tying Bryan to it, right? Um, the defense now is trying to say that this could have been somebody else in the house. This was recommended to him. Of course, again, throwing anything that'll stick. So, again, just another piece of evidence that's came out yet again. And we're all being able to see this. And now, even not that, well, my opinion, I thought Bryan was guilty from day one. But we are getting to see not just others' opinions and speculation because we're going off of stuff that we don't know the truth to. We're being able to actually see legal documents, actual evidence that's going to be provided to the jury during the trial, and all very, very important in making a case against Bryan. Okay, so we went through some of those new updates, and then we also have where DNA evidence was found under Maddie's, one of the victims' fingernails. And this came from a mixture of 3 DNA profiles. Now, it hasn't been released if Bryan's profile, his DNA profile, was found under the fingernails. However, of course, the defense is going to try and say, look, there's more DNA found. But this was not like she scratched his back, that type of DNA. This was DNA probably picked up through her night, right? She's out, she's at a food truck, she's visiting friends, they're hugging, they're in a bar. Yes, there's a reason to understand that. I mean, I have long nails, dirty nails. I bet you a lot of stuff gets underneath these nails. So I'm sure, sounds gross now that I'm really thinking about it, because now I'm like, ugh, what is under my nails? I clean my nails though, but there's, well, I go to the Family Dollar and I pick up an item, maybe somebody else picks up an item, and maybe they had dry skin flakes on it. Well, now it kind of brushed up underneath my nails, or, so on and so forth, as an examples of how we can get other people's DNA in underneath our nails. Again, whatever will stick and work. And if, again, these were the only little things we could say, yeah, maybe this guy's innocent. And hey, you know what? Maybe we've all been wrong. Maybe there's some kind of evidence that's going to come out and it's going to exonerate Bryan. I just really don't see that. This guy literally fits the profile to a T. Obsessed over criminal justice, obsessed over BTK, the serial killer, Ted Bundy, any serial killers, literally taught it, lived it, breathed it, wanted to be this like prolific weirdo to me. This guy is so strange. And the fact that he did this and then just sits like no emotion, which we'll get into the next update since we're going through it. I'm just so annoyed at this point that these scumbags even get the attention or opportunity to try to plead their case when it's so obvious. Like, let's stop giving these people all this extra time and all this stuff. When there's evidence, there's evidence. Wrap it up and let's go. Anyway, so now that, again, Bryan's a weirdo, his defense attorneys think that it would be, a good time to let everybody know that the reason why Bryan acts the way he does is because he has autism. Okay. They're saying his ASD makes him give a piercing stare, and that his lack of emotion on his face and the way he sits and just holds his hands and the very awkwardness of him, the piercing stares, that they feel that the jury is going to be biased to this. When they see him, they may think that he's not like sympathetic or empathetic, and that kind of like he's not remorseful, right? Because again, he's saying he's not guilty. They're saying that Bryan lacks, the cognitive skills and all this and the third. And this is because they want to take the death penalty. Do I even allowed to say that on YouTube? We'll say DP. Off the table. They are using the autism as an excuse as why he is not qualified for the death penalty, which is already a stretch in the beginning. And honestly, it's an insult. Like, Bryan, you sat here and you fantasized about this perfect murder and did all these things to try to avoid getting in trouble. And now you're going to sit here and say you're autistic. You're so prolific. And I'll insert the weird selfie that he took the next morning after he allegedly fatally stabbed these four victims. So no, bud, you're a weirdo, and it's kind of like insulting to yourself. You are so smart like you think, but you're actually really dumb because all that planning and all that work should have left your cell phone at home completely. Uh, you did not wipe the DNA. You used your own car, so right there. You ordered on Amazon. Come on, like you're an idiot. But you in your head, narcissistic, think that you're some kind of mastermind. And Bryan, you're gonna let him just throw you under the bus like that and say you have autism and you're not even smart enough to sit during trial. That's no. You're This guy is so disgusting, and the fact that he for no reason just killed four innocent people, four kids who are in college trying to do right, four kids that were friends, best friends, sharing the most exciting time of their life together. Yeah, fucking loser. I'm sorry. Anyway, we'll get back to where I'm at here. So they're trying again with the DNA and underneath her fingernails. And also, trying to get all the Amazon and all that stuff excluded. And as far as it stands right now, the judge is letting everything in the case. There's nothing that he's not going to allow in. Every time they're trying to fight something, he's literally like, enough is this, and we're having it, and that's it. He felt that um, the evidence was obtained fine, and that they were really just pulling at straws at this point. Another thing that I seen come out was about Rylan Nolan, and she is the DNA analyst on the case. And she's the one who discovered Bryan's DNA on the knife sheath. And now the DNA is trying to say that they want her testimony basically barred from the courtroom because she lacks basically the education and doesn't understand what she's doing. Basically saying that she has no expertise in her scientific foundation to say what she's saying. Um, Again, absolutely ridiculous. And I believe she was even when the DNA analysis or anybody or analyst, I'm sorry, would read off the descriptions of Bryan, they were saying bushy eyebrows. And the defense, as part of another motion, is trying to get bushy eyebrows banned from the trial, saying that by saying bushy eyebrows, it automatically puts the jury to believe that Bryan is the one and is guilty. Because if you remember, DM, when she seen Bryan pass her by in the hallway, I'm sorry, she stated that he had bushy eyebrows. And the defense is trying to say she can't use that as a way to explain Bryan. But again, I'm sorry, we'll go back to the bank reference. If someone robs a bank and I'm standing there and that person has bushy eyebrows, or I don't know, maybe like a scar on their face, am I not allowed to? And does this not happen where people are identified by the simple and sheer fact and statement of saying, yes, I seen this person with a scar on their face. And how did you know this? Because I identified them through this scar. They're allowed to point at the person in the courtroom and say, who do you see? This person. So since when would bushy eyebrows even matter? Or to me, it makes no sense. She's identifying the person she's seen. If she's seen the person and he didn't have a mask on, then she could say, I seen this person and his nose was big, his nose was wide, his lips were big, you know, so forth and so on. So is she not even allowed to say like he had a mask on? I mean, where do we draw the pettiness? And again, Ann Taylor, like you're gross too for sitting here and defending this piece of shit. But anyway, okay, so we got a lot of the updates covered. And another update I want to talk about is the defense trying to ban for trial the victims' families, friends, and loved ones coming in with in loving memory of and the victims' pictures on their shirt. They want the words like in loving memory banned. They feel that it causes bias to the jury. They do not want anything wrote hatefully towards Bryan or supporting the DP. Again, it's freedom of speech. These people are victims. And since when does this happen? In any other courtroom, when there's a trial, if there is family and supporters of a family of a loved one that was murdered, they're allowed to wear shirts in remembrance of that person. Who does Ann Taylor get off? Like, how do you sleep at night, Ann? That you sit there and like it's bad enough you defend this man, but then to his family, do you have kids, Ann? Like, have you ever lost your daughter, son? Do you not want justice? How would you feel if someone told you you can't wear the shirt of your daughter and put in loving memory of? Absolutely vile. Like, Ann Taylor to me is despicable. And I just cannot get past her and her antics with all this. So that's the next new argument that they have. And also, it was brought up about the immediate family being able to be into the courtroom. And Ann Taylor is trying to argue for Bryan's mother, father, and sisters to be in there as he's standing trial for murdering them. Um, I'm sorry, as he stands trial for murder, but the victims' families aren't allowed to be there in support. And also, Ann Taylor wants the a list of the immediate families for the other side, and that way they can approve or disapprove. Like, approve them all. What are you talking about? But again, she has, to me, it's like you become a lawyer to fight for people who are truly innocent, right? And you become a lawyer so you can make a difference. Well, at least if I was to become a lawyer, that's what I would do. But these people just don't care. They just want to win. And so you cannot tell me that Ann Taylor goes to bed at night and does not think Bryan Kohberger is a cold-blooded murderer. And if she does believe he's innocent, and she knows way more than we do, like she's in it, right? She We don't know what goes on the inner workings. We don't deal with Bryan. She must be blind or like again, she's just this sick. Like there's no other reasoning for this. I hope she's not a mother because if she was anybody's mother, she would have compassion. I probably should look up if she's somebody's mother, just out of curiosity. Ugh. And I'm sorry if I go off topic with this. Obviously, this is very serious, but this is very frustrating. And I can't imagine what the victims' families and friends go through. This was so tragic. It did not need to happen. These families were at home thinking their kids are in college. They're doing the right thing. They're being productive members of society. And to be told that I don't even know how they go on. And they're amazing, each and every one of the victims' families and friends that every day show up and fight for justice. because every day they're reliving this, every day just fighting something. And I can't imagine how frustrated they are. I'm sure they would like to see Ryan gone off this earth, and I don't blame them. And truly, if he can't get the DP, I hope someone in jail gets him. But we know how it goes. It seems like the most sickening monsters just go in jail, and very often do they ever really serve justice for what they did out in the real world. So I don't know. It's I feel like I don't even, what's the word I'm looking for? I feel like I can't even portray these stories to absolutely how heartbreaking they truly are. I feel kind of guilty for sitting here and talking about these stories sometimes, right? Because at the end of the day, when you sit down, and I've been following this since the beginning. I didn't always do the YouTube. I just started it mainly because I struggled with that, right? Do I go online and tell all these stories, but truly not know what these people go through? And I decided that the best thing to do is to tell the stories, to be a support, whether you're a little creator like myself or a big creator. There's still someone who watches this. Maybe someone doesn't know about a story that we cover, not just this story. Um, it gets it out there, and it also lets them know that just because they were taken doesn't mean that there's not people here to support you, people you don't know, people you'll never meet. But we want to share your story. I want to share the story in hopes that however or anything someone takes out of this, or any way you can help at all, and sharing and not letting their case be put on the back burner like so many get to do. And every day I get on, I look at updates on cases, and I'm like, for this week, who are we doing for missing persons? Who would I like to do for this? And I just find myself endlessly scrolling and finding more, and feeling like no matter if how many stories you can get out there, it's just always another one, always another tragedy, always just murders for no reason, crimes, yeah, down to murder being the worst. And then we have the catfishing and the lying and manipulating and domestic violence. And I don't know if sharing the stories ever make it stop, but it brings awareness, right? And the more aware we all become, maybe we have a chance to change something. Maybe if enough of us get behind things legally, we can change and pass different laws, um, down to sex offenders and different things like that. I mean, there's so many avenues we can go and take to help, but it feels, sometimes, I'm going to be honest, very hopeless. Um, yeah, I just, again, I'm sorry I got off on a tangent, I guess, but I just want everybody to share the stories, keep it out there, keep fighting for the Idaho 4, their families. Keep them in your thoughts. If you're religious and you pray, pray for them. Pray that they can rest at night with a little bit of peace of mind, that they have justice. So I just want to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there because I could probably ramble on for more time. If you like this video, please like, share for sure. Share anything that you see and go get familiar with the case yourself. Find out everything you can, and if there's details you want to tell or you find, maybe somebody else hasn't seen those. So share is the most important. Comment. Again, it's a work in progress, so I appreciate the support. And any case suggestions you guys have, anything you want me to look at, definitely leave me a comment, or anything you think I could work on, definitely leave me a comment. So I'm going to end it here, and I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.